Do do do. We are live and cooking. Let me just see if I can. Oh, I can. I love figuring out things about my laptop that I've had for like 55 years. That was a joke, by the way. I love making jokes when there's nobody here to laugh at how bad they are. So many amazing things have happened this week. Well, it's been about 2 weeks since I last uploaded, and one of the reasons being last week I had the flu. I was really ill. I spent about 4 days in bed, cold shivers and headache, feeling dizzy, sweats. Didn't really eat very much. Didn't train for the best part of about a week and a half. So I'm back, feeling good. Training is good. Meal prep. Back at work. Even had to take some time out of work. Didn't monitor any markets or charts. Just kind of needed to heal and recover. So reflected on a few things as to where that came from, which we will get into a little bit more. But I've come up with a concept, and I'm really excited about sort of just putting it into action and having an opportunity to maybe even put a little bit of meat on the bones in terms of the idea in this video. So the idea is the concept, sort of title, label, or whatever you want to call it, is peel your own damn grapes. And I just love how silly of a sort of sentence that is, but the concept of it really is it's multifaceted. So I'm going to work on like creating a specific ironed out, well thought out definition, but the overall concept is being able to take responsibility for doing the small actions which will give you the outcome which you want, and it might be only something which you can see how it all pieces together. So in a really easy example, that would be editing music for songs that you want to try and get out there to become, a musician, and you really find editing the music super boring and your music sounds terrible. It could be getting up 20 minutes earlier to go for a walk 4 days a week because you really want to change the way that you feel and you want to improve your physical health and your mental health, and you can only manage a walk, and it's the act of getting up when it's cold and peeling your own damn grapes. Another one could be practicing your knife skills, and you really don't like chopping food, but you want to become a chef. But it's doing that slightly uncomfortable, painful, boring work, and the concept of peel your own damn grapes is also like not feeling like anybody owes you anything and taking accountability and responsibility for you figuring out where your gaps in your arsenal are, so that you can become a more well-rounded individual and move towards the stuff that you want to work towards. And I think it's kind of a silly way to put it into words as well, like, because like people don't generally peel grapes, so I just think it's like really fucking funny. So I think that this past week has been a very, very, I think it's been the culmination of a few weeks of reflection and insights and making some like quite big shifts throughout a lot of different areas of my life, and I feel really good for it, and I just wanted an opportunity to sort of go into that a little bit more, and as always, share it and document it for all of the various benefits that could possibly bring about. So I think the first one is like being able to just be aware of how you feel with what's going on in your life. Like I've made an adjustment in the amount of time that I spend with certain people, and I've noticed an improvement of that. I've really started to listen to the way that I feel when I spend time with those specific people, and I'm not subject to the guilt that I once used to feel about how much time I spend with this or that person. Even though there's, social norms that would give you that, basically you feel like you should spend this amount of time because of the relationship that you have with this person or that person or a family member or a friend, and I've known this person for that long, or this person's going through a difficult time, so I feel like I should be there. And I think there's times and a place for that, but I think the main thing that I'm really realizing is, energy vampires will just keep taking, and there's no point in pouring your energy into a bucket that's got a very large hole in the bottom of it, and that bucket, a person, sort of is unable to fix the thing which is causing them to need so much support. It's like trying to get blood out of a stone, pushing a rock uphill, trying to, force a horse to drink. It's not happening. And I think that ultimately I got to a place where, I was working a lot. I was trying to see people. I was, working on myself, as well as, the whole, investment portfolio, and trying to record and keep time for myself as well as see friends. And I just ultimately, I think I got ill because of the fact that I was just burnt out. And I think that sort of leads me on to the second part. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were speaking about burnout and how the concept of like people who play video games all day, it's quite mentally taxing. If you play, whatever type of video games you play, you're trying to figure out puzzles, trying to solve challenges. More difficult, the better you get, it's more difficult. It keeps you interested. People don't really ever get burnt out from playing video games, and the concept of that was really interesting, because the method in which they keep you going and able to go is you constantly get these small little rewards all the way through, whether it's this or that. And they were speaking about how the concept of burnout is only actually able to be a thing. It only materializes when you are putting more effort in than rewards that you're getting out. And they were speaking about how you can sort of change your perspective to see that the work that you do is actually beneficial, and you can kind of get rewarded out of that. And then there's the other side of the coin in terms of not doing work that actually gives you any sort of benefit at all. So, if you work 50 hours a week and you hate your job, that's going to be absolutely draining compared to working 50 hours a week on a job that you don't mind, but you've got a big purpose and a big reason behind going to that job, like whether it's saving for a house so you can get some freedom, or you are working on a project that's doing something which emotionally you get a lot out of, or you really super love the people that you work with and you get a lot of enjoyment and stories and play, and it's fun and enjoyable. Like working 50 hours a week in a job that you hate, compared to either of those examples or other, what I'm sort of contextually getting at there, is the person who's doing the job that they hate will burn out. Whereas the people who's doing the job that they love will like finish work, and at the end of the week they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm kind of fresh, I'm not drained. So I think having that sort of perspective, but applying it to like everything, was like a bit of a shift in terms of like a bit more of an insight as to why some weeks I do seem to be able to get more work done and feel fresh and good and energized, and other weeks I seem to get lower amounts of work done, or not even work, but like I'm less productive. I get a lower amount of like life admin stuff done. I spend less time with friends. I spend less time at work. I go to the gym less, but yet I feel worse compared to when I'm doing more work, more gym, more self-care, more friends, more learning, more time on the charts, and I feel better. And yeah, so going back full circle, it's been a bit of a realization as to like, it's like actually super important, like what you do with your friends and when you see your friends and how you frame being at work, and just generally, eating the right kind of food, and then seeing even little things, like rather than being like negged out about, oh, fucking hell, I've got to spend like an hour making food. I kind of can't be arsed. It's like, well, I'm making food that's really tasty, it's really healthy, it's going to give me loads of energy, and it also means that I don't have to make any food for the next 3 or 4 days. So actually, if you break it down, by spending 1 hour making food now, it actually saves me loads of time, and I actually don't have to find that time. So there's multiple reasons why meal prepping is actually really good and really beneficial. So now all of a sudden, it's like way easier to go and spend an hour cooking loads of food. And then you can add into that, like, well, maybe I could put some music on, I could put I could put a podcast on, I could, maybe it's the fact that I'm kind of not looking forward to eating the same food all the time, so let's make an adjustment there. And you know what I'm saying? It's like being able to apply that sort of methodology. So I think I've really just embodied that this week, and I've benefited from it massively. So yeah, that was something that I wanted to sort of share and go into. And also just like kind of not feeling guilty about leaving people behind a little bit. That's something that I am really having to work on. When people get in touch and they're like, oh, yo, we're doing this, I'm going out and doing that, and I'm just kind of like really okay with not doing it now, um, which was a bit strange to get used to, but you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and if you're around people that have a lifestyle which you don't want to move towards, and you are spending a little bit too much time around those types of people, it will affect you. It will affect you. So in regards to that as well, I've been doing a little bit more in terms of like going out of my way to network with people a little bit, just introduce myself to people, like have conversations, and not like going out in a fucking suit and shaking people's hands as they walk across the road. Just like even in the gym, just like asking people how their workouts are going, or if you're in a queue, just like talking to people and asking what their order is, or like what they recommend, or like I went to this new car wash place today, and it's like you put some money in the thing and you get like a jet wash and a brush that's got soap coming out at the end, and there's like 7 different options. I've never been there before, and I just chucked my head around and I asked this guy, and we started having a chat about cars and which one he uses, and like he's used them all, and and it was just nice to have like these social interactions. And I think it's getting out of like a comfort zone. I'm very good at being able to be like routined and keep myself to myself and not kind of get involved with other people's bullshit. But on the same side of that spectrum, but on the other side of the coin, you can sometimes realize that you're not sort of expanding in a social way. You get, I'm not going to say stuck, but you start to realize that because of the fact that you're being conscious about who you're spending time with, that's naturally going to lower the amount of people that you're exposed to. And I think it's important, especially for me, because of like just what I'm naturally like, to kind of push myself and grow in that way. And you never know, like one of like a good friend, I'd consider him a friend. We just started talking at the gym a couple of times, and we said hello. We both trained in a different way, and we were quite interested in what each other did. And we like said hello every now and then. And then one day he just came over and sat next to me and started like having a conversation as though we'd known each other for ages. And I was a little bit like, oh, this is new, I'm not used to this. But he's an interesting guy, he's got good energy, his intent was good, he's good conversation, he's intelligent, he's interesting. And now we're like good friends, we've been out for food a couple of times, we've trained together consistently, like when we were training, because he's traveling now, for like a couple of months, like 2, 3, 4 times a week. And I've got love for him, do you know what I mean? And that sort of was the first time that someone's like pushed their way into my life. And I think before that experience, I was a little bit apprehensive about doing it, because it was like, kind of, who am I to go and fucking introduce myself to people randomly when there's not really any reason behind it? And then I was like, oh yeah, that's just like how you make friends as an adult, You need to stop waiting for the organic, natural, like meeting of people, and start and just like talk to people about random shit, make small talk. And that's another thing. I used to fucking hate small talk. Now I love it, because it gives you an opportunity to get really gentle, small insights as to like how somebody interacts and how they communicate and how they perceive, and are they a glass half full compared to a glass half empty person, and what type of things do they naturally just want to talk about. And then you do those a couple times, and then it's just like, yo, you're cool as fuck, I want to spend some time with you, and they say the same to you, and then all of a sudden you've got the startings of a potential friendship or a relationship, or whatever. So that's been a pretty interesting thing. I've spent a couple of moments with myself throughout this week where I've gone out of my way to do that, and there's never been a bad instant, so that's been pretty interesting this week. And I've enjoyed that. And I think the last sort of thing is the whole perfectionism thing. This is when I was sat when I was sat sort of like reflecting on the things that I wanted to go through in this video. One of the main things was like authenticity and perfectionism, and that sort of continuum. Because I feel like when you're being truly authentic, you forget about being perfect, because you're not trying to live up to any sort of external or internal expectations, or I should be doing this, or any of that sort of bullshit. You're just being yourself. And I think that you naturally start to relax when you sink into being who you are. And I think that there's a whole massive conversation to be had about the process of figuring out who you are and giving yourself space and time to feel and reflect and just be with yourself and have that relationship with yourself, to find out your likes and your preferences and where your boundaries are at, and all that kind of stuff is super important. But I think the more that I've experienced life, like I'm coming up on 30 now, and I've actually gained some really valuable life experience over my 20s, because I had a very sheltered upbringing in some aspects, and I've made a lot of mistakes. I've pushed people away when I shouldn't really have, and I've kept people too close when I shouldn't really have. I've had countless jobs, and I've got qualified in a couple of different things, and I've got into investing and trading and trying to do the whole content thing while being working full time, and friends and family, and doing the whole self-care and working through your stupid conditioning, and going to counseling and therapy and meditation and journaling, and surgeries and addictions. And you just end up realizing that there's no fucking point in trying to be anything other than who you are, and doing your best to surround yourself with other people who are also on a similar sort of trajectory to that is like what the entire fucking game is all about, like making those moments and like being there for people when they're going through difficult times, and having those people there for you when you're facing stuff, and realizing and learning that you can lean on people and they are there for you and you're not a burden. And just I want to try and work in this industry, or build a business in this area, or go and try and be an athlete, make a fucking YouTube channel, and nobody watches any of the videos, but the process of going through that, working towards an outcome, having a project, building something that's bigger than yourself, and going through those challenges, it gives you the opportunity to do the work and reflect and build and learn about yourself, and also like try stuff. We get into these routines where we go to work and we come home and we speak to the same people and have the same conversations and eat the same food and watch the same thing on Netflix, and it gets fucking boring. And I think that's one thing that I've realized is when you become aware of all this kind of stuff, and you start and play and enjoy life and speak to new people and look for new opportunities, you genuinely end up having, again, a busier week, but because it's doing stuff that makes you feel good and you enjoy it, you don't get burnt out. And I think that's where this whole peel your own damn grapes kind of thing is rooted in, is going through the process of doing those small things which kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's something new. It might not conceptually make sense to anybody else, but you're doing it for your own reasons, and you're trying to work to some kind of outcome. Or maybe you just want to do it because you fucking enjoy it, you know? Like, you don't have to paint to try and sell it. You don't have to paint to try and become an artist. You can just paint because you enjoy painting, you know? And I think that's where the peel the own damn grapes thing is like such a really beautiful way of putting it. Is like, you've got to do that stuff yourself, and don't be shy of getting your hands dirty and making mistakes and squashing some grapes, you know? Remember, it's only a fucking grape. Like, it's only an hour, it's only a canvas, it's only one random person, it's only a video that nobody's watching, you know? Like, I've got videos that I've put up and 0 people have watched them. Am I going to cry about that? No. Because for me, 65% at least of the reason why I record these videos is because it gives me an opportunity to explore things and document it, so that, like, one day I might be able to come back to it and be like, oh yeah, do you know, I kind of enjoyed where that was going, or have the opportunity to look back at certain things as I've got older and see how much I've progressed and be able to reflect on it. And I don't give a fuck if anybody cares about that kind of stuff, or if somebody thinks that that's weird or whatever, you know? It's like, I'm doing it for myself. I'm peeling my own damn grapes, you know? I think it's such a funny way to conceptualize it. I don't even know how I came up with that. I think I was in the sauna, just absolutely suffering, and I was looking at I was thinking about different names for, like, the podcast or the YouTube channel or whatever it's going to end up eventually being. And I wanted something that was kind of fun and different, but also, like, had quite a deep philosophical underlying tone. And I've cracked it. I absolutely love it. It makes me smirk and laugh every time I say it out loud, which is like, again, it sort of feeds into the whole, you know, play, enjoyment, have fun, and also, like, you know, being patient. I think that's a really important one as well. Like, as you're going through all this stuff, is like, try not to rush too much. Again, speaking to myself here, it's something that I've got better with as I've gotten older. Is you know, don't underestimate what you can do in a decade, but people overestimate what they can get accomplished in a year. And again, you know, stop to smell the roses a few times a week, and you weirdly might be able to actually have a higher output of the volume of work that you need to do to get progress in the area that you want to progress in. And smelling roses is nice, you know. You might even find something new and interesting to do. So that's it for today. Yeah, things are good. Oh, I have a new desk plant as well. This is the desk plant. It did almost die, and the friend that gave it me was like, "You're watering a little bit too much, and it's getting a little bit too much sunlight." So we got her dried out, and she has been sat on my desk away from the window, and she's coming back to life. So yeah, we have a desk plant. I fucking love plants. They're so cool. Like, they just grow. They don't need any looking after, really. They're like the perfect little flower, you know. So yeah, much love, guys. Hope you're having a fantastic time. Peel your own damn grapes.